I'm team member Aaron Glenn, private personal consultant, also advocate for mental health awareness as well. And on my channel, I like to put out positive vibes, but guard my energy. By doing so, I like to focus on things that brings life into my life, things that brings me happiness, things that calms my nerves, that brings me peace. The power of the mind is very, very, very underrated. A lot of people think manifestation works for them sometimes, and sometimes it don't. They think they have to do a whole bunch of external things when in reality the power of the mind is all within. And how it works, I'm going to share an experiment with you all very, very shortly. But nevertheless, I advocate for mental health awareness because the mindset is very powerful. The mindset determines where you go in life and where you end up in life. As a drifter, people only become that because they have a weak mind. They don't think for themselves and they allow the world to, they're drifting through life. They're getting whatever comes their way. But those who are indifferent, the ones who think for themselves, the ones who question a lot of things, those are the ones who don't go this way, they don't go that way. They stay steady. They're building a firm foundation on their beliefs, on their morals, on the things that they know to be true. They're seeking truth seekers. And with that being said, they're in their mind majority of the time. They're aware of what's going on. They're conscious and living in the present moment. That's the first step to manifestation is aware. Present allows you to be grateful for the things that you have, give you inspiration and encourage you to go for things that you do not have. It allows you to be real about your mistakes, your failures, and not to examine them as a setback or a final destination, but as a pivoting point to learn from, to study your mistakes and stuff like that, to advance and excel in life. You have to reflect on your decisions, you have to reflect on your actions. And sometimes you have to readjust the way that you think, readjust the way that you set forth in your intentions and actions. But nevertheless, today is December. December. Wow. I'm already ready for 2026 to be over with. This year is ludicrous. It's starting off really chaotic. We got the fire breathing dragon down Southern America, South America, Venezuela. I know you guys have been hearing about all of the latest things going on with the world and the state of. But I'm not here to depress you all or bring you guys down, just about awareness. Worship me only. Whatever occupies your mind the most becomes your God. Worries, if indulged, develop into idols. Anxiety gains a life of its own, practically infesting your mind. Break free from this bondage by affirming your trust in me and refreshing yourself in my presence. What goes on in your mind is invisible, undetectable to other people. But I read your thoughts continually, searching for evidence of trust in me. I rejoice in when your mind turns towards me. Guard your thoughts diligently. Good thoughts, choices will keep you close to 112, verse 7. And last but never the least, the book of First Corinthians, chapter 13, verse 11. Reading from the book of Inspiration, Enjoying Peace in His Presence by Sarah Young, Jesus Calling. So the power of the mind is this. Why I always talk about positivity is because it literally shapes and forms who you are inside. I know you guys have heard about we're water beings, we're electric beings. And what that being said is our bodies are majority liquid, right? And what that means is this experiment that I'm going to show you guys, if you haven't heard about it, it's called the Rice experiment. And it shows you the power of your word and what these words does to you over time, a month span. So the experiment was this, right? Of course, you may know or you may not know, water holds memory. And with that being said, it if it holds good memory, it holds beautiful images. If it holds a bad memory, it corrupts that image. That's the same as within our insides. When you speak negativity, it brings out an ugly image inside. And then once you put out positivity, it was they boiled a mason jar with a lid on it. And one jar they put down the word hate. The next jar they put down the word love. and another jar they left blank. And you'd be surprised at the results of what happened with these jars with just the words that they thought about and that they put on top of the jar, right? What happened was this. It might be just one moment. Let me get this together for you guys. All right, so yeah, what happened was this. The jar, you're finna see. Let me pull this together really quick.
Personal Journey Overcoming Anxiety. Anxiety weighing heavy? Lighten the load with our support. This course set me on the path to success. Don't wait. Begin your journey today. Comment.
All right, so this is it right here, the rice experiment, right? Check this out. If you guys have heard of this or seen it, it's a this is it.
Love. With this it's the hate price. As nothing to report on the hate rise. Look at that.
Rarely put it down and he left it there. He jar daily. He just leave it there. This is how powerful your mind is when you harbor negative thoughts, when you harbor trick, just like this. You being a wider being, you have tissues and all of that. That's why so many people with negative mind says they're stuck. They're being molded, right? They have to work on themselves for at least 30 days straight to start to refresh and get their cells clean from the inside out, physically, mentally, and spiritually. This is what negativity does to you. It corrupts your mind, it corrupts your body, it corrupts your being. Mold inside out.
Thought on reality. The difference between these two pieces of rice are that energy going to it, and one's got love, good energy.
You protect.
See, that
If you look, you see guys maintaining positive thoughts. You can eat 10-day-old rice. You can live off good energy for 10 days compared to 10 days of negativity. Thoughts of thinking negative, just the thoughts, not even inside your spirit. And this is from basically we're like a cooked body with the water inside, and the thoughts that we entertain either fill us up with debris and filth, or it keeps us pure and clean, right? This is the power of mindset. This is the power of the thoughts. This is the power of energy. When you think of positive things, just like love, happiness, joy, these are higher vibrations that keeps you healthy, right? Compared to, oh, I'm gonna talk objectivity, I'm gonna, do all of this foolish stuff, and low key you're corroding yourself. That's how it's so easy for the devil to use people with this type of mindset because they're halfway corroded already, right? A small minded individual, you're easily corrupted within a 7 day span. But these jars are bigger, right? Bigger jars, meaning you have a bigger capacity off the negativity. It doesn't take as long. It takes a little bit longer for you to be fully corrupted, right? This jar right here is just negative thoughts. He didn't say anything, and he put it on the jar. He put the word hate down because he was thinking about it. Just about. It only takes 10 days in a small mind the individual to be corroded with negativity. Compared to 10, stay pure and fresh, and they have more good vibrations. They can cook off this old rice again and eat off this. You can eat off your positive vibes for days at a time. It's about guarding the mind, though. If you're conscious about what you're thinking about, that's why I say it's all about negative feelings, emotions. You need to replace that with the love and start cleaning yourself up mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, right? Let me show you what happened with a bigger jar because these are small little salt and pepper jars. As long as something with a lid on top, where you can seal in the hate, you can seal in the love. If you think about it, we're just like these jars. We're sealed inside. We're either filling ourselves with love or we're filling ourselves with hate. And the thing about it is, it takes usually 7 to 14 days to be official. Once you're on that way to becoming an automatic thing, right? Like if you want to learn how to shoot a free throw, you go out there the first few times, you might miss a couple days. You might not even make a shot until the 7th day. But on that 14th day, you're going to be making more shots than you ever knew. And so far down the line, days on and on, you're going to have a perfect shot. You're going to know the rhythm. You're going to know everything, muscle memory. You're going to have your whole little situation set up to where you can maintain that, right? It's in them. And now it's just a natural thing, right? Yeah, what up, Mr. Super Twister? Balance, yes, yes. Balance is very, very important. I was speaking about this last night, and for some reason, my audio was cut off for about like 6 minutes. I'm not sure what the situation was, but anyway, Mr. Super Twister is definitely right. Balance is key. In life, you're going to have ups. In life, you're going to have downs. But every day, you have to remain balanced, because if you get too high up in life, you could become too cocky and you forget where being humble is like and where humbleness is and where humanity lies, right? In humbleness, in the meek, and people who have empathy for those who are suffering, for those who are struggling in life to get by, right? You get too high on the high horse, you forget about the low people. You get too low in life, it's hard to get up again. People battle thoughts of suicide or depression when they're so low in life and they don't know how to pick themselves up because it's about once you're in that middle way, fall too low, and you want to make sure when you do get high, you're still humble enough to remain humble to receive more blessings, right? You might make $1 million. You're still humble as if you had $2. Now you got $1 billion. Now you can feel more happy and more confident and content. But that doesn't mean get high horse or high egotistical and stuff like that. You remain humble. then you become a trillionaire, right? It's just God never puts more on you than you can handle, more than you can bear. And if you're not ready to maintain a situation, He won't give it to you so you can lose. God's word is true and never going to love that house. It's going to be a house that you have for the rest of your life and that you can pass down to generations. If you say you're going to start a new career, it may look like you're not going to find a job. It may look like everything you try is unsuccessful. Meanwhile, underneath everything is coming together. It just doesn't look like it, right? Just like it doesn't look like this would be happening when you maintain negative thoughts. But in the inside, this is what's going on. Just like it doesn't look like positivity does anything. Why people so positive and happy? Because though, nevertheless, you have people in the scrambling. Who said a person could just right? It's just about control. It's about power. It's not about self, but it's about who has it and how they see it, right? Not all weapons, I mean, not weapons, it depends on who's using it and what they're using it for. Power isn't a bad thing. It just depends on who's in leadership and the way that they're leading. See, for example, our president, he's in control, he has power, and the way that he's leading the nation is a kind of iffy job. I'm not here to talk about the man or anything. I'm just for an example, right? He does good, he does bad. He's running smooth. We have world peace, right? We wouldn't have to be so in cahoots with everybody all the time. But anyway, I digress. The thing about positivity is it's a choice. You have to choose when things are rocky or things are looking rough that you're going to decide to be patient. You're going to decide to be kind. You're going to decide to embody the characteristics of love, the characteristics that it says in the Bible from First Corinthians chapter 13, which love is many things, but it is not a overall gesture. It's patient, it's kind, it's forgiving, right? These are characteristic traits of love, which is there are plenty more, but when someone say they love you and they don't display these characteristic traits, they're manipulating your emotional stability. If you are an emotional stability person, stable person, right? That's why I advocate for mental health awareness because emotional stability is important to talk about. I'm here on this channel to let people know you don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to know it all. The best that you can be, which I'm pretty sure that that's everyone that on my page on Facebook, Aaron Glenn on Facebook. But anyway, people go through things. Life is challenging. Life is tough. We don't always be in the best position that we want to be, especially from last year to this year. So many layoffs, and people are suffering in silence. They're going to credit card debt. They're going to. It's a lot of people living with their families and friends, and a lot of people are just barely making it by. Even forced to keep going to something that's not really satisfying them physically, not physically, but spiritually, right? You go some places in the job but drain you spiritually. There's no God in there, there's no light, it's no love. And you're just there dealing with it because you're trying to provide for yourself and your family, right? You're tolerating the situation the environment, and all of these things. And also to be fair with you all, a little bit of advice, a little bit. There are 5 different things that you know if you're being targeted to get out there. Because nowadays the markets, the job markets is about this. They don't want to pay unemployment. They don't want to give out the raises and a lot of stuff. You guys are already aware of this. But when you're in a hostile work environment, they basically want you to put yourself out. They'll put you in a situation where you have lack of motivation and lack of support. They'll ask you to do things that you're not trained to do, letting you why you're not being sociable with the rest of this that they do. They do this a lot overseas. They even do this here in the States. And so I've seen it. I've been experienced it and all. But the thing is, right, we need favor in the workplace. Sometimes we need favor on our careers. Sometimes we need favor with authority figures, people who can open doors for us. And we can't get those things to happen when we're carrying around negative energy. We can't see a better future when we're constantly entertaining negative thoughts, right? This is what it's doing when you focus on those negative things. See clear, right? You can barely see through this glass. You can barely see through it. It's full of hate and negative energy, and the whole being is starting to get foggy and stuff. The positive being, like, it's a clear. You can see through it. It don't have to hide anything. You can see from front to back, side to side, and it looks healthy, vibrant. This is how people looked at Carrie's a mindset of positivity, right? It is unprotected this glass jar, this human vessel that's easily fulfilled with my thoughts, with your thoughts, with entertainment, bombarding with different things to corrupt your mind. You got entertainment, right? So as far as entertainment, you got music, you got social media, you got movies. And one thing that all 3 of these things have in common is as soon as you look on it for see violence, you're gonna see lustful spirits, everybody's sexual or so sexual, right? Whether they're homo um or not, right? It's wicked, it's corrupted. You think about these things as a normal thing, right? You see it, you don't realize that it's corrupting your mind. It's having you run into identity crisis, like, hey, do I supposed to be like this? With all those stuff that people entertain, those thoughts in there being corroded inside. The mindset that you keep, the thoughts that you entertain, that's really who you are. These thoughts come to not everyone entertains them. Some people will quickly grab that negative thought and toss it out and replace it with something positive and put it in. And that's how I do it. Because you have the choice, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, peace and blessings. A happy Thursday. The love. Make sure you're safe on the roads and attentive to the vehicle that you're opting. Don't be out here somebody back when you can just call them when you arrive to where you're going. Or pull over if you really got a text like that, or if you gotta have a conversation. And others in danger, just outside. Epidemic as far as the STDs, STIs, and stuff like that. So y'all really want to protect ourselves. A lot of people do not care for themselves, and they do not care about you. They will have you just as dirty. What I read from today, God knows our mind. He reads our mind constantly, which I think this makes more sense to me. Like if God was a female. But anyway, I'm not here to debate about that or nothing. It's just the fact to let us know that we need to be guarding our minds, because this is where the battle ends for most of us that can't beat this battle, and they end up in certain addictions, end up in certain situations. Is it because they lost the battle of the mind and they're so corroded like that jar showed? It's too hard to get clean. to get clean that they don't want to work on. I'm not saying that they're weak-minded individuals. They're until they spend day after day guarding their minds and replacing it with this. Basically, empty yourself out, recalibrate yourself, bro, to where you have nothing left inside yourself, and then you start filling yourself up with straight positivity and guarding it with that. This is how you guard your energy. This jar is an energy filled jar from. So it's not just something I say to sound good. It's actually something I say to help you out in real life, in real time. And this is the proof. You can do it on your own. It doesn't cost much to go buy a bag of rice. I'm pretty sure you have a pickle jar, or you might have a little. If you go buy some rice, you should have another dollar for a salt and pepper jar, right? You can do this experiment at home. All you do is cook the rice. You can even put a little bit of. You don't have to cook the whole bag. You just cook the rice, and then you smooth it out jar, and you basically just put the dry rice in there when it's cooled down. Like, you can run cold water on it. Once it's cool, you'll take a scoop and you say, "This scoop is full of hate." Boom, throw it in a jar. This scoop is full of love. Throw it in the jar. This scoop is being neglected. I'm not saying anything. Throw it in a jar. You have 3 jars: one full of love, one full of hate, one that's being un undisturbed, right? So the third jar is basically just being neglected, sort of say. You say, "I hate you." You say, "I love you." Or you just say, "I'm neglecting you. I'm not going to say anything," or whatever. And after a few days, like this experiment here was a 7-day experiment, and it's a smaller jar. But the bigger the jar, the longer it takes. So if you got a bigger jar, give yourself about 30 days. With these smaller jars, give yourself 5 days. In 5 days, this hate jar was already being molded. And in 5 days, this love jar is still fresh. You can still eat out of it. And within 30 days, this would be another one with the third jar, the molded one, the neglected jar. That one molds a little bit as well, but it doesn't get as bad as the hate jar. So if you're neglecting your mental health, you're neglecting loving on yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's not as bad as hating on yourself and keeping up with negativity, but it is a bad thing to not love on yourself as much as you should, because not loving on yourself is neglecting yourself, and it starts to decay after a while. And that's not a good thing for someone who's trying to be healthy. A dirty mind with a dirty vessel, right? Who will want to this? That's how the universe looks at you when you want to manifest and you have these negative emotions and vibrations. It looks at you like, I don't want to put anything into that cup. You have to recalibrate yourself and refocus and clean yourself up, and then the universe will love to pour into you. Like, look how clean this jar is. I will eat out of this jar. I will pour more into it because it's clean. It's good energy, right? But let me show you this. Just the last. I'm finna skedaddle for the weekend. It's coming up. I'm gonna prepare my fish as well. Much love, peace, and blessings to Team Edge from Team Not Long, but just to get to the point, right? Guard your mind at all times is very important. It's the mental. have been a month-long experiment for them with the bigger jar. I mean, you can see that the love jar is still white. It's molded like it should. Not molded, it's decaying as it should. It's still clean and clear. Besides the one that was neglected and the one that has anymore. You ready now? Fuck. To leave it in one spot for the remaining time or whatever, right? But they kept opening the jar and speaking into the jar as well. So I think that has something to do with the reason why they decayed. They didn't never open them at all, but they was opening them daily, speaking to them daily. And as you can see, even opening them for 30 days in a row, the white one, the love one, it's still about edible. I mean, if you're starving after 30 days, you got no food, I would eat that. But the other two, no, no. The one that was neglected is better than the hateful one, but it's not as good as the love and vibrations. But peace and blessings from Team Angie. Much love. And if you're enjoying this type of content, if you're looking for a passive income online, feel free to available, earn while you learn, pay as you go. And also my daily blogs, Talks with Angie.blogpost.com, Talks with Team Angie Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's a part of my newsletter. That's a part of my email list that I send out weekly. So if you guys enjoy this type of content, I ask you to please consider subscribing and becoming a team member of Team Angie. Much love, peace and blessing, and prosperity.